19% of teens in the U.S. experience sexual or physical dating violence, according to the American Psychological Association. 65% report being psychologically abused. Here are some ways you can tell if someone you know may be experiencing this. ECSU says signs include withdrawing from family and friends, focusing all their attention on one person, and changes in attire, like wearing long-sleeve clothes throughout the year that can hide bruises. We want you to know you're not alone. There's around-the-clock help if you or someone you know needs it. Just call the number on your screen. Advocates for the National Domestic Violence Hotline are available via talk, text, or online chat. My next guest went from being a college student to a domestic violence victim to being incarcerated. Now, she's a criminal justice advocate whose story is coming to the big screen this month.
We don't want you. We want Khalif.
I don't know where he is.
If you cooperate, we can help you out. You should listen to him.
The film Kemba follows the story of Kemba Smith. The Hampton University student fell in love with a man who turned out to be a drug kingpin. Smith was placed in the middle of the Clinton administration's war on drugs when she was sentenced to nearly 25 years in jail for her boyfriend's crimes. The case made national headlines as her parents fought to appeal the case. Kemba Smith joins me now. She is an advocate, a survivor, and a formerly incarcerated person. We're also joined by Kelley Kali, the director of Kemba. Welcome to the Griot, both of you. So good to see you. Kemba, I'm going to start with you. If somebody looked at your background, they wouldn't anticipate that this would be your story. There had to be a moment when you said, I can't believe this is happening to me, all of it. When was that moment? What was that moment?
Probably when I was in that courtroom and the judge sentenced me to longer time than I had even been living on this earth, to 24 and a half years at the age of 23, after I had given birth to my son while I was incarcerated and my leg was handcuffed and shackled to the bed. So, very traumatic story. And, the unfortunate part is, even though the movie's named after me, my story's not unique. And so one of the things since being home, because I've been out of left federal prison over 20 some years ago, was that I had a sense of survivor's guilt because I felt as if what happened to me, that other people should be given a second chance as well. So just really happy that this film is happening. But back then, I couldn't believe that I was sentenced to that kind of time, and just grateful for the support that I've received in order for me to get home. But as you know, everyone doesn't have that support. So want to use the story to impact
most people
others.
Don't get that support. And that's what I always appreciated about you, is that you didn't just get free, get home, and go about your life. You decided to turn that pain into power. You made a decision to help transform the lives of other people, not just individually, although you do that too, but also through policy. And you want to make sure that this story gets told, not so you could be a big movie star or a big producer, but so that more people can know what's at stake. Kelley, there's been a push to get this story told on a big screen for a long time. What was the final piece that needed to happen to make this thing happen?
Oh, you mean final pieces? There was a lot to make this movie happen. And we had a great writer, Christine Swanson, who came in. She kicked it off. We have our team MPI, BET, Rose Catherine over at BET kicked it off. But even she said on a discussion we were with her the other day that when she first tried to get it going a few years ago, it wasn't approved. And so she kept pushing. So this has been...
And Larissa Bates.
And Larissa Bates, who was over us. It took a whole family, a whole village to get this story told. And so when I was brought on, a lot of the script was already written, and then I came in to direct it and then do a lot of the casting and things of the sort. But the story truly, when it spoke to me, is because I was directly affected by my best friend who got caught up just the same in a different way. She was accepting packages from somebody that we both trusted in the church one summer before I was going to Howard and she was going to go to Wilberforce. And then one day the feds kick in her door when she's accepting these packages and finds out that it's kilos of cocaine. And so she ended up going to federal prison when I ended up going to college. So it's just that close to you. She never had a prior offense like that. She's grew up just how Kemba grew up, how I grew up. And here we are. So I knew that I had to tell this story and be a part of it for Kemba and for all the other Kembas out there that we all know within our community.
Kemba, when they're putting this story together, the scripts are being written, the casting is happening, did you have any worries about how you would be represented, how your life would be portrayed? Sometimes there's a gap between who we are, how we lived, and what people get on that screen.
Yeah, for sure. I had all kind of anxiety, and I signed the dotted line for my life story rights during the pandemic, so I really didn't even meet the producers, Moving Pictures Institute. But I'm grateful that they did understand the sensitivity to it, because number one, because I've worked with other producers in the past, was always not wanting to do anything that was going to cause any additional harm to my parents or to my son. And also understanding that I wanted them to show the various colors to Khalif, who was the drug dealer that I got involved with, because he's still my son's father. And even in raising my son, I focused on the fact that he had bad behavior, but he wasn't like a total monster. And so once MPI understood that, and then when they brought Kelley on, I'm grateful for her, because she got on a plane with Nesta Cooper, who did a phenomenal job playing me.
Yeah.
They came out to meet me and my parents, and they wanted to make sure that I was on set, because, I have executive producer title with the project, but Kelley and Nesta wanted to make sure that I was on sets because they wanted to get the story right. So they made me feel at ease, and it turned out beautifully. But yeah, I was really worried how it was going to turn out in the end.
She's still worried sometimes, Marc. You gotta.
I ain't mad. Look, I would be worried too. After everything she's been through, it makes sense. But I think everybody has that kind of worry. Before we go, Kelley, let me ask you a question. Because I don't want people thinking this just would be happening on HBCU campuses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How did you find ways to weave in some other HBCU experiences and culture and the joy, so that people don't think that HBCUs is just breeding grounds for this stuff?
Oh, 100%. So in the film, the culture and the joy is certainly in the first act. You feel it before any of the other things happen. But one of the things that Kemba has drilled home is that this doesn't just happen on HBCU campuses. It's not exclusive to our colleges. It's everywhere. Now, in the film, we have to focus on and narrow down what we could fit in to the time frame for Kemba. But you will see why it's not just exclusive to HBCUs if you get her book, Poster Child, and read all the details in that. It can happen to anybody, and that's something that you carry and tell people all the time.
It can happen to anybody, but as you mentioned, Marc, I have a friend, her character's in the film, and basically she was sentenced to double life sentence plus 50 years, and she's been in federal prison for 30 years. So there's a social impact campaign that's being launched along with the film for us to urge President Biden to commute her sentence along with others, and also to urge governors to use their this act of mercy of commutation and pardons to release people and give people.
Amen. We need that so much. Yeah. We're out of time, but I'm so glad we got that in, because that's the key here. Again, one, we want the commutations, we want the mercy from the executive level, but we also want to change policy so people don't need executive orders to get justice. Kemba, Kelley, thank you so much for joining us. Kemba premieres on BET Plus February 22nd. It also premieres on BET on March 1st.